I don't know, I just thought it sounded cool. Alright, so since I got to the river, as I say frequently and often, it's been the brown-skinned folks who have looked out for me. It has been those who barely speak English who have looked out for me and helped me out of the most desperate of situations. My vehicle broken. I've got people who understand I don't have the money, and I got people that don't understand that. Now all these folks keep telling me to go to Hispanic folks. Everybody in town, they all say to go to Hispanic folks. Everyone knows this. Everybody in Hood River knows this. There are Hispanic folks in this town who will help you with your vehicle, will help you to work on it, will help you to fix it. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of different names. I mean, these folks here in Hood River know the family lineages going all the way back to the grandmother who started doing this way back in the day. That's right, started by a woman. And a Hispanic woman at that, right here in Hood River. Man, that don't take much stretch of the imagination. So while I walk around and stick my fingers in all the parking meters and try to spare change for something cold to drink, got a little bit of good news. Mike has the tools required to remove that little piece that broke off yesterday. I just ran into him. I was able to force a $20 bill into his hand, thank goodness. But he was telling me as well. He said, you know, if we could get your car moved, I know people. He was telling me he's related to a Hispanic family in the area that's what they do. Auto work, and they do a lot of outreach with that auto work. They can't do a whole hell of a lot more. There's not a lot of skills that they have beyond that to assist somebody, but that part they know well. And it seems to be, of course, a cultural thing. Like many things, you know, the culture of European Americans is not quite a culture. We don't have the same ties and the same bindings as our European ancestors. And we don't have the same ties and the same bindings as the natives of the land that we're standing on. We don't fit in here. None of us fit in our own country. None of us. Isn't that strange? Whew. That's right, still addicted to my coffee drink. Not the worst thing ever. Sorry, I saw a panhandler giving some friendly signals to some officers. Sheriff's Department just drove by. Yeah. People do mean well. There's a lady and a gentleman here who keep offering me a job. Keep trying to push me to get this job, that I can do this job. I can't. Bonjour. And they don't understand that, but there are people here who do. I am the change I want to see in this world. All right, I really am. But so are these Hispanic folks here with, well, quite the reputation. And we're not talking about a reputation for being gang members. We're not talking about a reputation for pulling out full auto gas and fucking going splat to tat tat. Yeah, it's usually only the first one that hits when you fire a burst like that. Because of muzzle climb. You also got to pay attention to distance. When it comes to urban warfare and guerrilla warfare, well, we're talking about a lot of clandestine tactics. Optimally, you don't even want to be there. That's why a lot of IEDs, roadside bombs, and the double tap is so important. The double tap, that's where you, well, it could be a single bomb all by itself, or it could be one of the bombers. This is a very common tactic, especially in Israel. The first bomber comes in and blows himself up. Then, when the first responders get there, that's when the second one blows himself up. They're not after the civilians. Oh, another Coloradan. They're not after the civilians. They're after the first responders. Here in these American bombs and tactics, we're not seeing that. We're lucky we're not seeing that. That's because most of our terrorism is domestic terrorism. And of course, I keep getting told that it's these Mexicans that are doing it. It must be the Mexicans, right? Nope. It's not. Three different families locally, Hispanic names. All three of these families have been here for more than a generation. All right, I give them that too. These are Americans through and through. These aren't Mexicans, okay? These are Americans. The land that I'm standing on used to be Mexican territory, just like Nebraska. See, we got to separate it, don't we? Into the Mexican territory and the Spanish territory. Oregon was Mexican territory. And I believe that the Louisiana Purchase, I believe Nebraska might have been a part of that. If not, we took it from Mexico. But what did Nebraskans do in the 1950s? They shipped a whole bunch of brown people onto buses and shipped them to Mexico. Big green army buses. Where did they get all these big green army buses? Well, we just had a world war. We had lots of extra stuff, including all them buses that they drove at boot camp or to boot camp. After they used those buses to drop off all them soldiers, well, they were repurposed. They were recycled into getting rid of brown people, including Native Americans. My grandma used to tell a story about her friend Rita, who was deported. Rita was not Hispanic. I mean, she had some Hispanic lineage on her father's side, but her father was a Native American and her mother was a Native American, and likely Pawnee because they were a local family. This is over by Brule, Nebraska, I believe. Might have been Big Springs. But yeah, they drove through with this bus. Every town in western Nebraska, if you've got people from the 1950s who were there in the 1950s, they all remember those buses. All of these Nebraskans remember those buses. Every single one of them. Jeff Baldridge ain't gonna remember those buses, but his mama might. I'm sure he heard stories growing up. His dad was lucky he wasn't deported because his dad was, of course, Native American and darker skinned. I keep getting told about how these foreigners are ruining our country, and I do see the crime increase when you get gangland wars that are dragged over to here. I remember being in Pine Ridge Job Corps Center, Shatter, Nebraska. I remember there was two men there from Africa. They didn't know each other, but they recognized each other because of the ritualistic scarring. One of them put a particular pattern of slices on his face, and the other one, he put rocks into cuts on his face. So they were able to tell that each of the other one was from a rival clan in Africa. And that created a lot of problems at Job Corps. These men hated each other with a passion, despite the fact that they'd never met each other before. They just knew they were from opposing tribes. for me getting told to go to these 3 Hispanic families and they'll help me out. With all the Hispanic folks who have stopped and helped me out with the decency, the sheer humanity that I've been treated with. Yeah, I hear what you guys are saying. I'm not seeing it. What I'm telling you is I am not seeing it with my own 2 eyes. If I've seen it, yeah, I will verify it. Well, I verified that the Somalian gangs there in Fort Morgan and Fort Collins, can I verify those exist? Yeah, I've been there. I've seen them. I've spoken with them. I'm also familiar with their tactics. Why wouldn't I be? It's good to know a lot of things. One of the big things with the Somalian gangs is that they've been taught by other gangs how to get away with things. The knowledge that they're passing down to primarily brown-skinned people in those areas, these Somalian gangs, they're actively recruiting non-Somalis now, especially now that many of them Somalians are able to speak the English language a lot better. But they're also teaching your kids how to change their clothes as they're going down the street. You know, you wear some bright colored clothes and some dark colored clothes, and then of course something that makes you out to be different. Like going to an LGBT thing and you wear yourself your MAGA hat and your anti this, that, and the other, and you walk into the crowd and shoot a bunch of people, and then as you're running away, of course, you throw away the trench coat. Well, now you look a little bit different, and of course, you're not wearing your MAGA hat anymore. You're going to take that off, too. Get down a couple more blocks, well, now you can tear off your Adidas tearaways. And of course, what are you wearing under your Adidas tearaways? A mini skirt. Well, now you fit in with the LGBT crowd, and there's enough people between where the situation happened at the beginning and where you're at now, especially if it's a crowded situation, or if there's almost nobody there. There are people who are going to recognize that somebody took off a jacket. They're going to recognize a lot of things about the situation, but you've gone from in a crowded situation in about 20 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds, you've gone from being, somebody who's obviously in the center of the crowd to be non-supportive to looking like somebody who could be a part of the crowd, and who's going to know the difference? It's going to take a few to sort it out because, like I said, with gunshots, for example, people are going to go the other way. They're not going to want to, some of them are going to turn and look. Of course, in the time it takes to do that, you're going to make yourself a target because you look. It has been my personal first-hand experience that all of these horrible things that we put off on minorities and brown people seem to not be actually a brown people thing to do. It seems to me we like to project everything we do onto other people and make it their fault. Out here on the streets, I meet a lot of people who know what's up. They admit to their screw-ups. The lady and the gentleman who keep offering me a job, they're not taking the time to understand that I need help before I can even work. Before I would even be able to work, before I would even be able to get them the information that they would need in order to pay me, I would need help. They're not trying to be rude by blowing me off about the rest of that stuff. That's not their problem. And they're right. But the other thing is, if they want to keep on hounding me about getting a job there, if I need help to do that, I need help to do that. If they can't help me and I can't find somebody else to help me, it don't make any good to hound me. in Hood River, the Hispanic folks have treated me quite well, but it's not just Hispanic folks. I'm not sure if you guys know about this, but much of Washington State and northwestern Oregon is home to a lot of Samoans. S-A-M-O-A-N, Samoan. I want you to look that up. These folk are brown. They come from an island basically out in the middle of nowhere to most of you guys. You've never heard of the place. Now, Samoans, I've been familiar with their cultural hospitality for years. I want to say the first time I ever got to go to a Samoan birthday party, I was about 11 or 12, and the kid who was having the birthday was only 6. But they didn't invite me because I was a 6-year-old, because obviously I wasn't. They invited me because where they come from, the whole village is a family. They are absolutely a family. We've taken that out of it. We've said, all right, well, we're going to irk our responsibilities as parents. We're going to put it all on the government and make the government take care of all this shit. And then we're going to complain that the government's doing a shitty job while we don't do anything about it. Well done. You are the definition of stupid. They should stamp your picture in every dictionary in the country. Congratulations. Now, of course, we got to get back to the fact that all these mechanics in the area, all the people I'm being sent to, all the ones that I'm told aren't going to charge me an arm and a leg, they're all Hispanic folks. All of them. The guy who's helping me with my car right now over in the parking lot, part of it is because he's got an issue with his truck and he's trying to fix it before going back up the mountain. And part of it is because I couldn't move my vehicle to take it somewhere. I don't have the money to have it towed, and the stuff that's in it is more important than my life, literally. Apparently he's related to at least 2 of these Mexican families. That's right, people here still call them Mexican families. They're Mexicans still to these Oregonians, even though their families were likely here before Oregon was owned by the United States. That's where the conquering of people comes. When you conquer a people, you basically take possession of their peasants, their lower class, their poor, their middle class, everybody who didn't die in battle. They're now yours. They belong to your country. And you can disperse them as you please. The United States did not do that with Mexico. When we made up a war and went and killed a bunch of Mexicans and took their land, well, was it their land or was it Native Americans' land? We still have that up for debate, but we also get to see who the very, very clear winners are. The winners are not Mexico and not Native Americans, for certain. The statistics on land ownership, yeah, they very much reflect that. So, of course, we've got all these European Americans who could do something, and they want to project everything onto the Mexicans who are destroying everything. Not all of them, of course. Many of these people are very pleasant indeed. But if you're going to blame a group of people, you're not going to afford them the same rights. You're going to pull this ICE crap. That's right, ICE. You guys forgot about them, didn't you? You forgot about them because we had another close election. And we got this abortion stuff going on. Yep. You guys forget about an awful lot, don't you? ICE did the same thing this time around as they did last time. They deported people who were lawfully here and won't allow people back into the country, including, well, we've got Italian-born or American-born Italians. All right, these are not actual Italians. Their ancestors are Italian. Dark hair kind of runs, especially in southern Italy, as an inherited genetic trait. Same thing with the olive skin. Greeks were known for having sun-kissed olive skin. Many Italians, especially southern Italians, were, well, they were Greek. Most of southern Italy, even through Roman times, they were Greek. Greek citizens within the Roman Empire. They're the only ones who were considered equals at all to the Romans. Another Colorado car. Anyway, this feller here, he's dark skinned, he's got a dark beard and it's curly, and he's got dark hair, and sure, I could see him being Hispanic, and I can also see him being called a white guy. I could see it either way. Why should that part matter? And why is it that folks are sending me to the people that they don't even want in their community, and they're sending me to these people? Oh, those people will help you. Well, perhaps the reason that they'll help is because they've been there. They've dealt with this mentality from these people for that long. Also, they have a reputation, despite all of the crap that is put on them. They have a reputation for being good to people, don't they? Absolutely they do. A lot of these folks told me that I should go to these 3 Hispanic families and their auto shops, as well as that number I got for that feller, Jose, and meeting that youngin, Fernando. Well, I think that deserves recognition. I think we should stop this whole bussing people out because we don't like them, and then blaming the immigrants over your ignorance. When you wanna blame the immigrants who are coming over here and doing this work that you're not gonna do. You're not gonna do that work for less pay. You just won't. You know that your family's not gonna work together with you, and that you alone earning that little money, that's not gonna be enough to cover your basic necessities for an entire week, let alone an entire month in this country. You gotta work together. That's the family dynamic, and that's something that many European Americans do not have. Many of us, our parents got pregnant because they were drunk or on drugs. Then they had kids that they weren't allowed to abort or weren't intelligent enough to abort, myself included. My mother should have had an abortion. My personal opinion. If I'd have never been born, you'd have to find somebody else to blame. You'd have to find somebody else to victimize, and there's a lot of people out there to do that too. I get that. There's a lot of disabled homeless men, aren't there? Color don't matter. They're disabled and homeless. They're easy to run over. Their rights as a disabled person don't matter anymore because they're homeless. They must be on drugs. They must be drunks, they must be rapists, they must be child molesters. And we get all this stuff thrown at us. All this stuff that you guys throw at the Hispanic community. All this stuff that you throw at the black community. And you throw all of it at us. When the black community gets sick of taking that shit, well, who are they to blame it on? Well, the homeless. You can take it out on a homeless person if you're a black person. You can take it out on a homeless person if you're a Hispanic person. You can take it on a homeless person. You can take it out on a homeless person, no matter who you are. Even another homeless person can do this, and then it becomes a popularity contest because nobody wants to talk to the police. Nobody wants the label of rat. Well, if you are going to go touching kids, I'll rat your ass out. You're goddamn right I will. But the people at the gas station there, all of them being good to me, regardless of their personal opinions about each other, they're all good to me. Some of them have opinions about things that I don't get to explain. That's because I only get to talk to them a couple minutes at a time, if they get time to sit down and take a break for 2 minutes and have a drink of a soda pop and sit in the shade. Other than that, this place is busy, and they're busy running that place. Those folks, they're not rich people. They're just like most of those who helped me. They've either been through it or they've had enough family go through it that they know. Knowing firsthand is a lot more important because then you're familiar with the dynamics, you're familiar with the logistics, you're familiar with how the law is able to prevent you from having an honest court date. How false charges can cut you off from all of the resources you need to defend yourself against those false charges. But the rest of the country, they want to pretend that you're schizophrenic when you say it. Just like they want to pretend I'm schizophrenic when I say it. Marcia Estrada, out of all the people that have been my doctors or therapists in the last 6 years, there's only one who ever saw me long enough to diagnose me as such, and she says loud and clear that I am not. That's what these officers didn't want to pay attention to when they wanted to run around and tell people I was schizophrenic. Did any of the people that they told it to and had write it down, were any of those people qualified to diagnose me as schizophrenic? Why was Scott DaCosta running around telling everybody I was schizophrenic? And what happened to me because of that? Not just Scott DaCosta, also William Barr. These aren't the only ones. That is how easy it is when you are a disabled homeless male. That is how easy it is to make all of your rights go away immediately. Anybody can be predatory towards you at any point in time, and because of bias and hatred towards the homeless, the cops will come and victimize the shit out of you too. As a homeless person, we know that you're on your fucking own. Everybody else is too afraid. They're gonna cower in their little fairy boots, and then they're gonna be angry when it happens to them, and nobody's there to protect them from it. Well, you didn't protect anybody else, did you, dumbass? No, you didn't. See, out of all the people that I have helped, and myself, I'm the easiest one to help. I'm the easiest one to help because all I needed was for these people to speak up and keep speaking up. If you're gonna say something to me but not to anyone else, and those things that you're telling me show that the cops outright lied, and you're just telling me, and you're taking all of my resources, and you're taking my time, and you're making empty promises, you're gonna. The longer you take your dear sweet time, the longer it takes for me to turn in my predators. The longer it takes for me to turn in my predators, the more likely they are to get away with it. What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh yeah, I can't be a victim because I have a penis. When it comes to family dynamics, well, we simply don't have it. Our parents get pregnant because they wanted to get fucked up and have sex. They shouldn't have had kids, but they did have kids. And then they still didn't get off the drugs or stop the partying. They wanted to take resources that could have gone to somebody who was actually trying to make their life better, but instead, our parents just wanted to mooch off of the system and use their children to do it. My mom was collecting disability for me when I wasn't even staying with her. My dad did the same thing. Also, my mother used my social security number to get bills put in her name. She did the same thing with my older brother. When we became adults, imagine our surprise when our credit history was fucked because mom didn't pay that bill either. Yep. You tell us how we wanted it, needed it, or chose it. How it's our fault. Your sexism is not our fault. Your bias is not our fault. Your wives' tales are not our fault. Your superstitions are not our fault. We don't have the family dynamics that you guys take for granted. The family dynamic that works together and gets things done. Most of these people out here have been ripped off by so many people they're afraid to work together with anyone, and rightfully so. Desperate people do desperate things. Anyway, it's good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind.